Hello and welcome to this episode of Simply Saturday, where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. My name is Julie and this is Stamp with Julie Baum. I'm super excited to show you this card today because even though I'm a real, probably traditionalist when it comes to Christmas, I like the red and the green and the white and little bits of silver and gold. I also really like bright colors, and I like when we can take a Christmas look and tweak it a little bit and come up with something playful and whimsical, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So I'll tell you what inspired me. It was actually this paper. This is part of a large packet of designer series paper. It is called Celebrate Everything. It is a pack of 12 by 12, and it currently is a paper pack that can be purchased, but only as a hostess of a workshop. So in other words, you need to either turn in an order for $150 as the subtotal, or perhaps hold a home workshop and collect orders equaling 150 or more. And then the host of that workshop might choose to purchase this special host-only paper for $18. It is such an amazing pack of papers. So that's what my inspiration was. And then, of course, this stamp set called Decorated with Happiness is going to be the perfect companion. And I do have the coordinating dies to this stamp set. So let's jump in and get started. There are a few steps, but as necessary for a Simply Saturday card, it is still going to be rather fast and easy. If you stay tuned to the very end of this video, I will show you an option. One that I'm not going to do as I put the card together, but I'll show you the option at the very end. All right, so what we need for this card is a card base, and because I have a white card base, I'm using the thick basic white cardstock so that it's got a little bit more weight to it. Whenever my card base is going to be white, I do prefer the thick cardstock. This piece is 8.5 by 5.5, scored down the center at 4 1/4 for a very common base card size. All right, then I have a piece of that designer series paper that we already mentioned, and this is trimmed down just a little bit. So this one is 5 1/4 by 4, and it is going to get attached as a layer right there. Then I've got another layer, and this is Pacific Point. Now, Pacific Point is a lovely bright blue that, at least in my stamping, it doesn't get chosen an awful lot. So I'm very excited that Pacific Point is in the designer series paper pack because it just calls out to use this blue. So this one is trimmed down even smaller. This piece is 4.5 by 3 1/4. And then I have my white layer that we're going to do some stamping on. And this top layer is 4 1/4 inches by 3 inches. All right, so we are going to do some stamping on this. You will also need a scrap or two of white cardstock to do some stamping and die cutting. All right, so first we're going to stamp on here. Let me bring in a scratch paper because I'm quite confident that I'm going to stamp off the top edge of this. All right, so I'm starting with the stamp that looks like, I have all my stamps sitting here and my eyeball isn't seeing the one that I'm starting with. Let's see here. This one, there's lots of parts and pieces to this. Okay, let me line this up so it's not so confusing. All right, so this particular image is from right here. Now this could certainly also be a squiggle that fills in some color on one of the ornaments, but I'm using it paired with this little branch piece to create my greenery. All right, so this is the piece that I'm going to start with. I need a block, there we go. And then the color that I've chosen is Granny Apple Green, which also is a color in our designer series paper. All right, so with this stamp, I'm going to do some of my images straight from the ink pad. I'm going to re-ink or re-stamp some of them without re-inking, so I get a lighter version, and I may even do that a couple more times. So I'm getting lots of shades of green. I'm also varying my placement. Some of them I'm stamping off first. Sometimes you can stamp and there's enough ink left on the stamp that you can add a little bit. All right, I'm going to come back and go down a little bit lower here and super light a little bit lower here. All right, so there's kind of just a splish splash of greens all created with that one stamp and the Granny Apple Green ink pad. All right, next I'm going to go to a darker green so I can get some dimension, and this is shaded spruce. And now I will bring in that little leafy, or the little branch that has more detail. Okay, not leafy, it's more of a stick branch. So now in the same fashion, I'm going to do some straight from the ink pad, and I want to do some second generation without re-inking. And I really want even some light ones. All right, so we're just kind of building our branches. Kind of takes the nervousness out because you're just putting the ink down. Just go for it. All right, so there's our leafy scape across the top of the paper. All right, then with Pacific Point, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my words. I know the general vicinity where I want these. So this is going to be down at the bottom and not quite centered. I'm going to go a little bit to the right of center, and it says Boughs of Jolly. How cute is that? All right, we are also going to add in a couple of these little Starburst sparkles. There are two different stamp sets in this set where you can add some little star sparkles. This is the smaller of the two. I want to wait until I get my ornaments on here, and then we'll bring some of these in. So we're going to set that aside for just a second. All right, now on our scratch paper, we're going to stamp the ornaments. So there are at least 3 ornaments. There might be another one. I'm going to use this round one. This little, what is that shape? Kind of a, it's not really a teardrop. That shape. And then this one that drops a little bit lower. So we're going to do 3 ornaments on our scratch paper. I'm using Memento black ink, and I am using a photopolymer stamp. I have played with these stamps a little bit, and I know that I get a crisper image if I bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. So I am going to do that. And here is the first one. I'm going to leave a little bit of space between because these do have coordinating dies, and we're going to cut these shapes out. Okay, then my second one. I don't know if this shape actually has a name. It's an ornament shape. All right, and then this one. So like I said, I've left some space in between. This one's just barely going to fit on my scrap. Like so. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of color. And for this card, I'm going to do that with my Stampin' Blends. So on this one, I'm going to use a couple of, actually my light and my dark of Pool Party, which is also a color in our designer paper. So I'm going to start with light and quickly just color the whole ornament in Pool Party Light. And I'm also going to come up here and color the little top part of the ornament. All right, then with dark Pool Party, I'm just going to kind of mimic these little wavy lines. So I'm going above and below the black wavy lines just to give it some depth, and maybe a little bit here. Okay. Now let's do this one, and we're going to use polished pink, starting with light. And I will use the light for an all over color. And then we'll come in with just a little bit of the dark polished pink, again, just to add some depth. So I'm just basically tracing right above that black squiggle and right below the black squiggle. See, it's not hard at all. All of the ideas for where to color are already there. I think I'm going to do this darker. And I kind of want to do the same on this one. I'm going to go back with the dark Pool Party and color. Yep, I like that better. Okay, and then our last one with Granny Apple Green, starting with light. And I'm going to do the light only in this little background area. And let me see if I can pull in a little bit for you. Okay, so it's behind that little flower or star shape. That's where my light green is. Then with the dark, I'll go ahead and color in that flower. I think it's a flower. And also all of this area. So again, this is with my dark Granny Apple Green. I would actually prefer to use my brush end of the marker on this, but mine is, let's just say it's well loved. So it has kind of given up. It's time for me to replace this set of markers. Our Stampin' Blends do come in a set, so when you choose a color, it comes with a dark and a light. All right, so this end has pretty much given up. It's a little bit wrecked. And then I think because I don't have very much dark on this one, I'll do the top light. And that's our coloring. Okay, so what happens next is the dies need to be placed onto each shape, and this needs to go through either the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine or the large one. It will fit in the mini if that's the one you have. What I do is I place my dies precisely where I want them, because I don't want them to shift at all, and then I just use a little spot of Post-it tape to hold that down. That way it won't shift when I'm putting it through. And somewhere I lost my third piece of tape, so I'll show you what I'm going to do. All right, I've got that one in place. I'm just going to rip this one in half. It only takes a little to hold it. And I will put a link in the description of this video, an Amazon link of how I buy my Post-it tape, how and where. All right, and then ornament number 3 gets taped into place just to anchor it, and then run through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. All right, once that has happened, let's just jump ahead. We have our 3 pieces. All right, we're gonna put those on our card and put it together. It's so bright and happy, I love it. Okay, so the first one I'm gonna put on is the center one. I'm gonna put this pink one in the middle. I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue, but you can choose whatever adhesive you would like. And this is the one that is almost gone. Okay, so this one, let's bring this out a little bit. Oops, sorry for the wiggles. Okay, Let me try to not do it when I have something gluey in my hand. All right, let's see if I can adjust this for you. Stick with me. Yeah, I was able to enlarge it and now I can't get it to shrink. There we go. Okay, then we will put on the pool party one. So I'm putting a little bit of glue even on this top part here where the string or the wire is, because I want that to stick down onto the card and not to kind of be sticking up. Okay, and then our green one. So bright, so happy, so colorful. All right, so you can see when it's time to do the placement, you just kind of adjust them so that they all fall in a way that looks nice to you. All right, now we're going to just put it all together. Let's attach this stamped white piece to our Pacific point, lining it up as centered as possible. This piece is going to go on here. I think I'm going to be happier putting my designer series paper on first. Ooh, look, the back of that is super cute too. You know, a lot of times the host items are so fantastic that even when I do orders, I will often save up orders until I know that I'm going to reach that $150 subtotal so that I can choose from the host section. Even as a demonstrator, that really makes a lot of sense. Okay, and then we're going to attach this onto the front and add our sparkles. So even with a little bit of die cutting, this was still very quick and definitely easy. Just some stamping, some coloring, and a few die cuts. Super cute. All right, are you loving it? Okay, you can decide how many and where on the placement of this little bit of yellow sparkle. I'm using crushed curry. I thought I was going to use Daffodil Delight, but actually the color in the paper is crushed curry. So I think it's going to ultimately look better. So I'm going to do one here, one here. I'm going to still try to kind of stay centered, but working my way down the center of the page. But you could definitely add more of those if you think it needs it. And you could add rhinestones here and there if you think, but I'm sticking with very straightforward, so I'm not going to embellish it anymore. I do think that I would put a little something on the inside since it's all white. So I think I'm just going to do, I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that first stamp. See, because the inside, look, the front is so cute and then the inside is just totally plain. So I'm going to take my little greenery that I did, and I'm going to do one down here in the corner, or two. I'm going to do two down here in the corner. Yep. And I'm going to do one up here. Add the dark. And a couple of sparkles. Doesn't that just make it? It needed a little something on the inside, and that took just literally a couple seconds to add. And there we have it. So there's our completed card. And before I let you go, I wanted to show you that if you feel like making the top portion, let's see, the top portion of the ornament, if you feel like making that metallic so that it looks like the metal part on an ornament, then you can take gold or silver foil. This is our silver foil. There is a die in the set that looks like this. And it will cut out 2 of these at once. So I ran it through 3 times. So I cut out 6 of these. And this, let's see, I buried them. This is what they look like. Oops, they all flipped over. These are the little silver pieces that you could use on top of your ornament like that. Oh my goodness, super cute. So that would be a whole extra step. I didn't do that because it is a Simply Saturday card, and that would have taken more paper, more die cutting, and more gluing. But if you like that, that's definitely a way to step it up just another bit. Here is a completed one with the little metal pieces, if you want to see what that ended up looking like. So there you have it. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. I really love to hear from you. So thank you to those of you who regularly watch and regularly comment. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. And do look in the description below this video for all kinds of helpful information, including a host code if you'll be ordering product through me, as well as links and other helpful hints as you continue your stamping and creative journey. Until next time, happy stamping.